Hello friends and welcome. I'm really excited to dive into today's topic because there are some wonderful makeup techniques that we can use to create bigger, more beautiful lifted eyes, even if we have hooded eyes like I do. And since our eyes are the first things people notice when they look at us and are also the first place to show age, this is especially important for those of us with mature skin. The right eye makeup applied the right way can make a world of difference in helping us look and feel more confident. Over the last 14 years in my work as a professional makeup artist who specializes in helping women who, like you and me, have mature skin, I've been very fortunate to meet and work with hundreds of wonderful women who've shared thoughts similar to what Ellen told me a few years ago. She said, "I'm going to be turning 60, but when I walk by a mirror, I often wonder who that woman is looking back at me because I feel 38 on the inside." Another woman said, "I want to find me again because I've forgotten what it looks like to feel pretty." And I loved what Marcia told me. She said, "I want to look as sassy on the outside as I feel on the inside." So if you're looking for makeup tips, techniques, and product ideas specifically for those of us with mature skin, you have come to the right place. Well, I'm going to remove the makeup from one of my eyes so I can demonstrate the 7 ways that we can help our eyes look not only bigger, but also more lifted. And I'm going to be using my Bioderma micellar water to do this along with a cotton pad. Because our eyelid skin is so thin and delicate, I first want to just have this pad resting on my eyelids so it can help dissolve some of the makeup before I actually wipe it off very gently. So I'm just letting it sit here and then gently wiping. And you can see how much it got off just at that first pass. And I'm going to do that once again and just let it rest on my eyelids for a moment. And take off my eyebrow makeup as well. And I want to make sure to get off the mascara. So I think you can certainly see a huge difference between my eyes, especially how big and lifted the eye looks with makeup compared to the eye without makeup. Now, you certainly don't have to do all 7 of the techniques that I'll be demonstrating today. I just want to give you as many different options as possible so you can choose what's right for you. You may decide to do just one of these techniques or maybe 2, or perhaps some of you want to have fun trying all of them. So go with whatever makes sense for you and fits into your lifestyle. Today, we'll focus on all of our eye area of real estate, from our eyelashes all the way up to our eyebrows. And speaking of our eyebrows, that's where we'll focus first. I think this photo is a brilliant reminder of how important our eyebrows are for framing and lifting our eyes. One beauty expert has said that our eyebrows are the facelift without the surgery, which is so very true. Perhaps you've experienced your eyebrows growing sparser, or you've lost some of the tail area of the brow, or maybe you're seeing more white and gray brow hairs, or perhaps all 3 like me. So I'm first going to use my spoolie, and by the way, this is an essential tool. And it's pretty much just like a mascara wand. And often it will come on the other end of an eyebrow brush. And this happens to be one from e.l.f., so it's very inexpensive. And I probably should have trimmed this brow hair that's standing straight up. That's another thing you should do before your eyebrows, which I neglected to do. But one thing you want to be careful of is you don't want to trim it right where you think you should, because often it will retract down a little bit. So you want to trim just a little bit off. Wow, that is a big black wiry one. Now I'm going to take an eyebrow stencil that has an elastic band, which will give me a pattern for my eyebrow shape. And I'm going to go ahead and put that around my head. You'll usually want to do this before you fix your hair, as you'll see when I finish. Because this is a stencil that covers both my brows, it will ensure that my brows are exactly the same, which isn't always possible if we use single stencils. Since I've lost a lot of definition along the upper edge of my brows, which is a nice way of saying they've gotten pretty darn scraggly, I'm going to use a thin eyebrow pencil from NYX just to trace out the upper and lower pattern for my brows. And since this stencil would make my brows too full for my face if I followed the outline exactly along the top, I'm going to adjust the top line so it's slightly lower than the stencil. So this is my eyebrow pencil from NYX, which has a very thin point. And as you can see, I'm just following the outline of the stencil, but not going all the way up to the edge. Because this stencil, unfortunately, I love the shape, but it's just too full for my brows. And then I'm just going along the bottom edge of the stencil. Now that I have a basic outline, I'm going to fill in my brows with Anastasia of Beverly Hills Eyeshadow Powder Duo in the shade Medium Brown. And I'm going to start with a lighter color and just gently fill in with that first. Because sometimes if you start with a darker color, you can go too deep too quickly. And now I'm going to add a little bit of the deeper color just to the middle part of my brow. And again, it's a very personal decision how deep you want to go and if you want some areas of your brow a little bit lighter than other areas. I'm going to go slightly deeper just so this brow better matches the other brow. And since I have white and gray brow hairs that still peek through, I want to cover those with a product from Maybelline. This is my Brow Fast Sculpt Gel, and it does an amazing job of covering white and gray brow hairs. Not all gels do that, but literally all you have to do is just touch the brow hairs. And if you're interested in learning more about all the different eyebrow products out there, as well as their pros and cons, and also see a full eyebrow demonstration, I recently did an eyebrow how-to video, and I'll put a link to that video in a pinned comment below as well as in the description box. And by the way, you'll also find links to all the products that I'll be talking about today in the description box as well. The next product that's very important to use is an eye primer, which does two very important things. Since we have oil glands next to our lashes, it keeps eyeshadow on our lids from creasing and smudging, and it also prevents oils from breaking up our mascara and eyeliner. And if we get an eye primer in a color that matches our skin tone or is slightly lighter than our skin tone, it helps brighten the eye area as well, because it will cover up any discoloration that we may have on our eyelids. And this lightening and brightening effect also makes our eyes look bigger. Well, as you can see on my eye without makeup, I have some veins that are showing through and I have some redness as well as some other areas of discoloration. There's a lot going on those eyelids. I'm going to combine both shades of Makeup by Mario's Prep and Set Eye Primer and apply it all over my entire lid, from the lashes up to my brows. I actually should have reordered this during the last Sephora sale because, as you can see, I'm really running low. I like to put my finger in and just move it around a little bit in the creams because that warms up the cream to make it a little bit easier to apply. And I combine both of those colors, and I'm just going to pat it on. I don't want to rub this area hard because of that delicate skin. And I'm going to take it all the way up. And one thing I noticed earlier as I was putting on my makeup is that this area is extremely dry and flaky, so I need to remember to put moisturizer on that area of my eye. I also like to bring it in here since this area is so dark. And now let's take a look at the eyelid after applying this eye primer. Isn't it incredible what a difference this makes? It is really a game changer. And I haven't met many women over 40 who don't have discoloration on their eyelids. Now, as you can see, it also makes my eye look brighter and bigger. And even if I'm just running out of the house to do errands and not going anywhere special, I'll often just put on eye primer because it makes my eye area look so much better. And to allow my powder eyeshadow to glide on more easily and not look at all blotchy, I'll apply a light coat of the powder that's also included in this Makeup by Mario eye primer palette. I love having the powder included in this little palette. It's just so convenient that way. And again, I'm going to apply it all the way up from my lashes to my eyebrow. Next comes eyeshadow, which I'm also going to use as my eyeliner. We have three distinct areas of our eyes: our eyelid, which goes up to the indented area above our eye, which is the crease, and our brow bone, which is the bony area under our eyebrow. Using eyeshadow to highlight certain areas and to darken other areas helps the eyes look larger. And one of the most important things we can do to make our eyes look bigger is to use a light eyeshadow color on our eyelids. It all goes back to that color theory we all learned as kids in art class. Light colors bring things forward, which makes them look bigger, and dark things make things recede, which makes them look smaller. And we definitely want our eyes to look bigger. So I'm going to go ahead and use this light color from my Juvia's Place Warrior 2 All Matte Eyeshadow Palette. And I'm using a flat, wider brush which applies more product more quickly and easily. And you don't want to go with stark white. That is just a little too jarring, but a more muted white will work beautifully. I think you can see it's just a little bit lighter than my skin tone. And while I'm at it, I'm also going to put a little bit up here to lift my eye and a little bit above my brow as well, above the arch. So putting all that light color on the lid makes it come forward, which makes it look bigger. I remember one art class that I took many years ago where we spent several days just creating depth in a drawing of a bowl of fruit. Do any of you remember doing something like this in an art class? Well, at the time I remember being bored to tears, but that concept has certainly stayed with me. And if you put this light color on the inner corner of the eye, it also expands the size of the lid. I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. And by the way, this is a drugstore brush, which I absolutely love. It's from Profusion. And it's just great for anything under the eye, the inner corner. I don't want anything too bright and dramatic, but just a little bit of lightness here. And I'll make sure it connects with the lid. And next, in order to create some dimension in the eye area, I'm going to add a mid-tone color to the crease. And I'm going to use my Sigma E25 brush and my Natasha Denona I Need a Nude eyeshadow palette. Another eyeshadow palette I have that has great neutral colors is one of my favorites from the drugstore. It's my NYX Ultimate palette called Vintage Jean Baby. And it not only has neutrals, but some of the most wearable blue shades that I've ever experienced. I love this palette. And NYX also has a beautiful all-neutral palette, which is their Ultimate Warm Neutrals palette. And because I have hooded eyes, I'm going to place the color not only in the crease, but also slightly above the crease, so it's actually visible when I look straight ahead into a mirror with my eyes at rest. I also want to be very careful about how far over and down I bring the eyeshadow on the outer corner of the eye, because bringing it down too low can make the eyes look downturned or droopy. And just for demonstration purposes and to ensure that I don't go too low or too far over when I apply my eyeshadow, I'm going to use some masking tape as a guide. But before I apply the tape, I'm going to put the tape on the back of my hand a couple of times and then pull it off to get rid of some of the sticky adhesive. You just don't want to do anything to harm that eye area. And this makes a difference to get off some of the adhesive. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and put it right along so it follows this line on the lower part of the eye. I'm going to stretch my eye so that will be the end of where I want to put my eyeshadow. But of course, once you get a feel for how far over and down to bring the eyeshadow, you definitely won't need to use tape. I'm going to combine this color called Mesh with the one called Stone that's in the top upper left corner. And it's definitely important to tap off the eyeshadow before you apply it. And I'm going to start in the middle of my crease. And I'm going to bring it just out here. And then when I have less product, I'm going to go to the inner corner of my eye because I want more of the shadow in the middle and the outer section. And as I mentioned, I have very hooded eyes. In fact, someone commented that they couldn't see the hood in my eyes, and that's because it comes so far down to my lid that you can't really detect it. And I'm not only using windshield wiper motions, but also circular motions. And that's because since there is quite a bit of crepiness in my crease area, this means that I won't miss any skin. And I'm lifting it as I go to the outer edge. Now I'm going to look in my mirror and just make sure that I can see it when my eyes are at rest. And I can, but I do want to fill it in a little bit more in the middle. I'm not sure what project my husband is working on upstairs, but if you hear some noise, he's moving something around. I'm not quite sure what he's doing. And by the way, where you hold your brush makes a difference. If you want a lighter application, you want to hold it out here. If you want a stronger application, you want to hold it closer to the bristles. Now I'm going to take a brush with nothing on it and simply go over the edges. We want to blend it really nicely. Then if we want a more dramatic look for evening or for maybe a special occasion of some kind, we can deepen that outer corner of the crease and the outer corner of the eye with a darker eyeshadow color. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. I like to use an angled eyeshadow brush and stamp it on to add more concentrated color. And here's the angled brush I'm going to use. It's from Real Techniques, but I do not think, unfortunately, that they're making it anymore. And I'm just going to stamp it on the outer corner of my eye and the outer part of my crease. And then I can flip it over, which fits nicely into the crease of my eye. Now I think you can see a rather harsh line here between the dark color and the lighter color. So I want to take the brush that I used for the lighter color, and I'm just going to go over that edge just so these blend in. One thing we don't want with eyeshadow is any kind of harsh line anywhere. Before we focus on the next techniques to make our eyes look bigger and more lifted, I hope you'll give this channel a lift by clicking that thumbs up symbol if you're enjoying today's video. And I hope you'll also subscribe if you haven't already done so. And I thank you so very much if you decide to do so. Well, most of us over the years have used a black eyeliner to provide some additional lift and emphasis to our eyes. But using black on our eyes can make them look smaller and can also look a little bit harsh on our mature eyes. So it can look wonderful to use a dark brown eyeliner instead. And since our eyelids have changed just a bit over the years, it can be a little more challenging to apply eyeliner on eyelids since they aren't quite as taut as they were when we were in our 20s or 30s. So I like to use either an eyeliner that's especially designed for mature eyes that glides on extremely easily, such as the ones from REVANT Cosmetics and Prometics, or use a dark brown eyeshadow as my eyeliner. I'm going to go ahead and swatch these two eyeliners so you can take a look at them. The blue one is from Prometics, the white one is from REVANT Cosmetics. The line that's farther over to the right is the Prometics. It's a little bit more of a reddish brown color, and then the one to the left is the REVANT Cosmetics liner. And here's the important application technique that I'm going to use. I'm going to use brown eyeshadow as my eyeliner, and I'm going to start below the eye, and below the eye I'll use a mid-tone brown color just along the outer 1/3 of the eye. And I'll carry it upward along the natural line at the outer corner of the eye to meet the eyeshadow above. I'm going to use the same mid-tone colors that I used in my crease at first, and these are still from the Natasha Denona palette. And it's important to use eyeliner along the bottom part of the eye first, and I'll show you why in just a moment. And I'm just going to apply it on the outer third. So I'm going to follow this natural line upward toward my temple, and that will meet the eyeshadow up above. And following that natural line makes a very wonderful outline for where the upper eyeliner should go. Now, I've already applied some of the eyeliner along the top of my eye because my camera stopped and I didn't realize it, so I apologize for that. But let's go ahead and finish applying the eyeliner along the top of the eye. I'm using a darker brown shade, and it's the same one I used earlier on the outer part of my eye and crease as eyeshadow. So what's interesting about this technique that's a little bit different that helps lift our eyes is that I'm going to be applying the eyeliner only until the middle of the eye where it starts to go downward. I don't want to go downward, then I want to start going upward toward my temple. So instead of following the eye downward with the eyeliner or eyeshadow as eyeliner as I'm going to be using today, it's going to be going upward toward the brow bone. So I'm using the darkest brown color called Silhouette, and I'm starting in the middle when I have the most product on my brush, and then I'm going to fill in toward the inner part of the eye. Then I'm going back to the middle, and rather than following the eye down, I'm going to start going up. And this creates a wider eyeliner line along the outer edge of the eye. And then I'm going to bring it out to meet that line that we brought up from under the eye. So basically, I'm filling in a little triangle here. Now, of course, you could use eyeliner to do this. I just choose to use eyeshadow. So by creating this line going up toward the temple from under the eye, and then meeting it with this wider line along the top edge of the eye, you're lifting the eye. And then I'm just going to use my finger to really just make it more natural. I don't want a harsh line there. Our next focus is on our eyelashes. Using an eyelash curler and mascara definitely makes our lashes look longer and helps lift our entire eye area. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos, you've probably noticed that I have a little bit different technique with my eyelash curler. This technique greatly increases the amount of curl in our lashes, which results in our eyes looking larger. So let me go ahead and show you this technique. So I'm going to take my eyelash curler and get to the very base of my lashes, and I want to close it gently just to make sure I'm not pinching anything. So then once I have it closed at the bottom of my lashes, I'm going to lift my elbow. And by lifting my elbow so it's almost horizontal, I am going to get more curl. And I'm going to hold it for 5 seconds. And then I'm going to stair step up my lashes, holding it for 5 seconds each time I go upward. So go upward again, hold it for 5. Go upward again, hold it for another 5. And I keep doing this till I get to the end of my lashes. And I think you can see that they're pretty curled. And the technique we use to apply mascara can also make a difference. We want to start at the very base of the lashes and wiggle the brush upwards and then let the lashes dry before applying a second coat. I'm using my Tower 28 mascara. I'm starting at the base and I'm wiggling. And by the way, one thing I think we all grew up doing was pumping our mascara wand. But we do not want to do that. That puts more air in, which dries out the mascara, and it also breeds bacteria. So I'm going to let these dry for just a few seconds, and then we'll apply a second coat. And after I apply the second coat, I'm going to show you another way to curl the lashes if you do not like using an eyelash curler. And then while the lashes are still damp, I'm going to take my finger, place it horizontally against the lashes, slightly pushing back. And I'm going to hold it here, so I'm pushing the lashes back and upward, and I'm going to hold it until they dry. And as you can see, that creates even greater curl. It also creates a mess on your index finger, but that's easy to take care of. Now, I didn't use the second technique on this eye, and can you see how much more curled these lashes are than my other eye? It's pretty amazing. It's a very simple technique and it works beautifully. And if we put mascara on our lower lashes, just a touch, we can once again expand the entire footprint of the eye area, so overall our eyes will look larger. So I'm just going to touch these bottom lashes lightly. And that, I feel, makes the entire eye area look larger. And the last interesting thing that we can do is to apply a slightly lighter color of concealer than our skin tone color right along the very edge of the masking tape line that we used earlier. So I'm going to use my e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer in a lighter color than I use on my skin tone. And in order to apply it, I'm going to use an eyebrow brush that's very thin. So I'm just going to rub the brush against the doe foot applicator and get a little concealer on there. And now I'm going to just go upward. You can use your brush, or I like to just use my fingers to gently pat it in. This lighter line, again, creates the illusion of more of an upward sweep at the outer corner of the eye. Well, I hope you found these tips helpful today, and be assured that once you practice a little, these tips will become second nature, so you can easily and quickly incorporate them into your regular makeup routine. And here's the video I referenced earlier that will give you more detailed information on brow products as well as a helpful demonstration. And I've also included a link to my weekly newsletter, which I think you'll really enjoy. Until next time, I wish you good health and happiness, and I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. Take care.